Okay, so everything had some time to set, and we're ready to move on. You can see we did the starboard side lights as well as the port side lights. And we're ready to do now is we're actually going to go to the aft end of the ship, and we're going to do the officers' quarters, the captain's area, as well as the admiral's quarters. I think it would be on the starboard side in the back. So we're ready to address the lights that are going to go into the back. Also, what I want to do is we're going to run a power supply down that's going to come from the bottom of the ship, probably around the center, and then when it rests on the stand, it won't be noticeable, and it'll be plugged in. So I think, oh, I want to show you guys something else. When it comes to the lights, because the LEDs are pretty bright, and it's going to be plugged in, so you'd think it would be even brighter. I'm going to tone everything down with some Tamiya. We're going to put the clear yellow on, and what it'll do is it'll put the yellow, that yellow hue onto the walls as well, and to give it that kind of like a yellow-ish kind of glow, the way she would have had back when Admiral Nelson would have been in his quarters in the back. I also have, I don't think we're going to need it, but we'll see. I'm building the USS Nimoy NCC 1931, and this is going to be for the Bussard collectors. When you think about flame, the colors are what? Yellow and orange. Yes, there are other colors in too, depending on what's burning, but my point is, I thought if we do the orange, it might be too dark. It might go back to that like ship looking on fire kind of thing. Whereas the yellow, everything, okay, you got to think about the ship itself. It was actually lit by flame. It actually had lanterns throughout the ship, and let me see if I can get a picture of one, because I've seen several throughout the book. Here's one. So when that's lit up, it has like, the flame may look white, but the light that's thrown is actually kind of yellowish. I don't know if you can see the yellowish look to it. So that's what I figured. Why would we get the Tamiya clear yellow as opposed to the orange? Maybe we can paint everything first with the white and then maybe a spritz with the orange. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it looks. But anyway, that's the plan for all of the LEDs. To spritz them with the yellow, tone them down, and make them look a little more appropriate to the period. So when it comes to lighting up the back, let me show you the back of the ship with the model. Actually, I got a bunch of LED lights here that we're going to use. When it comes to the back of the ship, you can see she's very ornate. She's very beautiful in the back. What this is going to do is this is going to go up to the top, and probably right about there is where the lit areas are going to be. Now, one of the problems that I'm facing is that they're not going to have anything to put behind the wood, no plastic at all. So I'm thinking of what I can put as like a plastic, just to kind of put the appearance of like glass, but I'll think of something. So you can see that area that needs to be lit. So there's going to be nothing on the bottom with windows that needs to be lit. As far as I can see right now, just where the top of the rudder is. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the lights in, and we're going to tie this section together. It'll close off the circuit, but what we're going to do is we're going to run the feed from the bottom of the ship. So what we got to do right now is we're actually going to drill a hole through to be able to connect. So let's do that right now. There we are. Now we got a little area for the lights to pass. So what we can do now is let's get a couple of, these are the wires. So we're getting a lot of wires, which is a good thing. So I'm going to get a couple of bulbs ready. I'm thinking one is going to be enough for either side. So why don't we go ahead. I'm going to put this aside for a moment. Alright, let's get the bulbs ready, LEDs. And when it comes to this, we are not going to need a lot of wire. And then we're going to actually glue the bulbs into position like we've been doing. Maybe we'll use the UV light glue. Alright. So, actually, see the resistor that's on it? So we're going to cut it around here because we are not going to need a lot of room. We're not going to have a lot of room, so we don't really want to get it tied up too much. We'll do the same thing with this one. And again, this extra wire is very handy, so let's go ahead. We're going to strip these. Also, what we've been doing is we've been making sure that they work. You don't want to go through all that and have them not work. So let's go ahead and test the bulb. You can see that's coming on. And now this one, that one works. Nice. All right, so now let's prep these wires. Figure right about there. All right, we have the wires all hooked up. I'm going to do the same thing for the starboard side. All right, what we need to do now is we need to have two jumpers. We're going to have one for the negative and one for the positive that we have to connect and close off the circuit. And we're going to run the wire through. And we'll do the same thing for the positive. Yeah. See those? Now they're ready to solder. All right, so we got everything hooked up. What we need to do before we solder is I want to make sure everything works, like what we've been doing up until this point. So let's get the connectors ready. There, all right. So you can see the two lights that are going to be at the officer's quarter section. We have all the lights that are on. We got the 24 below the deck. And we're going to have the two in the back. So again, I want to test everything before we solder. So why don't we go ahead and disconnect this for now. Once it's soldered, we'll retest it, but let's put this aside. And now we're going to put some flux on all the areas to be connected. So before we glue everything into place, what I want to do is I want to make sure that the connections are all solid, because we're going to have to move them around a little bit to glue them into place. So we're going to light the ship up again. All right. So it's soldered, and what we got to do is we're going to maneuver the wires, and I'm going to glue the bulbs into place. But I think I'm going to keep the lights on, because I want to make sure nothing shorts out and nothing touches. We're going to angle them upward, so they'll be facing up towards the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the backs, and we're going to glue down the LEDs, and we're going to use the UV glue instead of the hot glue gun, because the hot glue gun will make things a little more bulky and heavy. So we're going to put that in, and we're going to cure it. There. And now what we're going to do, we're going to get ready to tuck all these in. But we got to make sure that they do not touch each other. When we have this section, see, we're going to have to do something to diffuse the light, because it's just not going to work. So I'm going to put something behind there to diffuse the light a little bit. Probably some plastic or a sheet of resin or something, but it won't be. Yeah, see what I mean? When there's nothing there, it just doesn't look right. Okay. So that looks pretty good. Everything is in its place. Everything is lit. So I think what we can do now is let's disconnect the power supply. And we'll head over to the paint booth. So let's check out the Tamiya paint. This is, let's see, PS42. Okay, so while this is drying, you can see everything is got that yellow kind of a tint to it. And again, if we need to, we'll spritz it with the orange, just like a little less than a dusting, just to show that there is orange in there. So when it comes to the ship, I think we can do the feed now. We're going to actually feed through the bottom of the ship. So I want to get, let's see, I want a longer cord. So this one should do nicely. Okay, so what's going to run through the base is we're actually going to have the female part, and we're going to have the male part going to the power supply itself. there, you can power the ship, and at the same time it'll be out of view. So let's go ahead and we're going to get this section ready now. Actually, we'll do this, and this is going to be coming up through the bottom of the ship. Alright, so hopefully you guys can see the bulkhead. I put it up through. I want to keep clutter down, so we're going to run it through to this bulkhead, and this is where we're going to hook it up. And I ran it through, let's see, to this one. Alright, let's hook these up now. We're going to hook up the positive first. Oop, this was extra. I thought it fell out. Alright, so you can see how we have the everything lit now, and it has that yellow kind of a look to it. So maybe what I'm thinking I might do is I might put another spritz of the yellow on the tops, just to tone it down on the top and in the backs. But I think it's going to look pretty good. See, when we shut the lights off, darken the room. So you can see that yellowish kind of a hue, and that's a good thing. That's what we want. And again, some of you might be thinking, why don't you just use yellow lights? Well, I do have the yellow LEDs that flicker, but I didn't want the ship to look like it was on fire. I do have some yellow LEDs, but not as many, and I had a lot of these extra. So I decided to paint these, and again, we'll do a little spritz on the top once the paint is good and dry. And we're ready to put the decks on. You can see in the back how she's starting to look. So let me put the lights back on. So what we're going to do is the last things we need to solder are these places right here. So let's do that now, and that'll be the last thing we get to do for the wiring so far. All right, let's hook it up again. There we go. So this lead is going to be coming down from the middle of the ship now. And when we plank, we'll have an area where it's going to be coming out the bottom. And when it rests on the base, we won't be able to see it. And what we're going to have on here is we're going to have a female. That way there we can disconnect it from the base. So you guys can see she's making progress. I think she looks pretty good. So now we're ready to go ahead and we're going to put the decks on. So until we move on with the build, I appreciate you watching. I'll talk to you guys really soon.